Welcome 7th graders. This is your first ever math video that you'll be watching, and we're going to cover 1.1 integers and absolute value. Definitions and key ideas. So first definition we have is for an integer, and an integer is any positive or negative whole number, and that also includes 0. So our counting numbers, but also negative numbers. So for example, we have -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 100. All of these are positive and negative, and they're whole numbers, so they're also integers. This list, you'll notice, does not include any decimals or fractions. So this is a key point here. Does not include any decimals or fractions that can't be written as whole numbers. So for example, the number 0.25 and 0.33 and 3/4, the fraction 3/4. None of these are whole numbers, so they would not be considered an integer. The only exception would be if I have something like the fraction 4/4, I can simplify that to 1, so that would be an integer. That would work. Next key point is absolute value. And absolute value is the distance between the number and 0. Absolute value has to be, it ends up being a positive number. Okay, we can't have a negative distance. It doesn't work. And an example of that, we usually write it when we see these lines right here. These straight up and down lines, they represent absolute value. So this is written the absolute value of -4, and it's telling us that it equals 4. Also, the absolute value of 4, the absolute value of 4 also equals 4, okay? So finding absolute value. Absolute value, again, is the distance between a number and 0. So first one says find the absolute value of 6. So if I were to imagine my number line, I have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 would be one more past, about the same distance. So if I extended my number line, this would be 6 right here. Okay, and so now I want to find the distance between 6 and 1. So if I count this, I'd start at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so the absolute value, I can rewrite it like this: absolute value of 6 equals 6. Next one, absolute value of -11. Okay, this one we're going to kind of have to imagine. I'm going to move my number line over a little bit so I can extend it. So if I had -11, that would be -6, -7, -8, -9, -10, -11 if I extended my whole number line here. Okay, and so again, I'm going to count the distance between my -11 and 0. So I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so that's 11. Absolute value of -11 equals +11. And so what you can see here is that this I'm going to center it a little bit. This positive value of 6, the absolute value or the distance was 6. This negative value of 11, so the absolute value of -11 was a positive number. So our absolute value is always going to be positive. And the reason that is because we can't have a negative distance. When we're measuring something, it's just going to be a positive distance. Alright, in number lines, if we were to draw some number lines, there's some important parts of a number line that we have to keep track of. So on a number line, we're always going to have arrows at the end of our number line. So you'll notice I have arrows here and arrows here. That tells me that my number line continues, but that I'm just looking at a small piece of it. And then my numbers on the number line, so let's say I start with 0. My numbers and my spacing should be pretty similar. Now I'm trying my best to have it be about the same spacing, okay, with my little dashes, but my spacing should be the same. Okay, my spacing should be the same between the numbers. And so if I made this one might be 1, 2, 3, my next one shouldn't be 5. That would be wrong. Okay, should be 4, then 5, because I'm jumping up by ones. Same thing, -1, -2, -3. I shouldn't have -10 here, because that would be skipping too many. I'm counting by the same. Okay, so the next thing should be counting by the same amount, meaning if I skip 1, I should continue to skip 1. If I skip 2 and count by 2s, I should continue to skip by counting by 2s. Alright, compare the absolute value of -9 and 7. So the absolute value of -9, if I continue and kind of draw my number line out, here's -6, -7, -8, -9. I'm going to kind of scrunch that in. Here's -9 all the way in the end. So the absolute value, if I started at 0, would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Absolute value of -9 is equal to 9, because it's always going to be a positive distance. And then I'm comparing, which is bigger, 9 or 7? Well, if I rewrote my answer, the absolute value of -9, which equals 9, is going to be greater or bigger than 7. And that would be my answer that I would give.